All right, here's the console out of the car. I've remounted the support brace temporarily with a few screws so I can get an idea of space and where I can place things. I'd mentioned earlier that I want to install some cup holders if possible. And with the brace in place, I know where I have clearance or access. It gives me an idea of where the dashboard will be. That's gonna come up at this point. So if I could get in with a bottle or a can and then work this out. If you flip it over, you can see I have these reinforcements for the center support. And then here are the threaded inserts for the bezel that goes around the gear shift. And then here's that patch that I had to put in to fill in the original hole. And I did this originally with JB-Weld, and it probably would have lasted forever until I pressed my elbow on it and broke loose, fractured the bond. I did have the forethought when I was assembling the car to mark the locations of the bracing that is underneath this cover that makes up the transmission tunnel, so I know where I've got things in the way if I want to do cup holders. So I'm going to sit and noodle this for a while, and we'll get back a little later. All right, we're going to get started on trying to salvage this panel, this repair. And what I think I'm going to do, I have to cut these nut inserts off, release this panel, see what I've got underneath, clean it up, and then probably reattach it again with the JB-Weld. So I'm gonna fire up, I think, the Dremel tool with a cutoff bit, slice these off, and we'll go from there. I want to do this carefully, and then I have to be conscious about heat. I don't want this insert to get hot enough to transfer heat and spoil the vinyl on the other side. So I'm just going to work slowly and cut these off and try to minimize the damage to these parts so I can assess it and put it back together. So we'll keep going. Now that I've got the nutserts mostly removed from the backside where they've crimped over, I should be able to pop this loose the rest of the way carefully. Blade under the edge. There we go. And you can see where I had inserted that filler piece around here that fit inside this recess to fill in the factory cut huge oval hole to turn it into just a single round hole. So now I'm just going to clean up these parts, and we'll go from there. We'll see what I can salvage and if I can reattach it. So hang with me. All right, if I gently I don't want to break the bond of the vinyl where that trim bezel sits. And so the idea here is to get in behind and sneak out the remnants of that nutsert, which that one worked the way I wanted it to. I can just get under here gently. Pop that one out. Okay, very good. That one's out. And now I will work on the insert panel. That one looks like it's about, no, needs a little more grinding. Stay tuned. The bulk of the JB-Weld's been ground away. I've managed to salvage this part. So, and I should be able to drop it into place, registering it with the old holes. And I think with some careful clamping, I will be able to glue it back into place and be back to where I was before. So now I just need to go get some fresh tubes of JB-Weld, because I know the stuff that I have is probably junk, hardened in the tube, or just too old or been frozen. So I am going to run down to the corner hardware store, get some JB-Weld, and we will resume the project. All right, off camera I've done some preparation of the parts. What I'm going to do now is spray a little contact adhesive in the area where the upholstery is going to stick to this. I've masked off where the JB-Weld is going to go because I don't want the contact adhesive to contaminate that area. So that's all we're going to do is give this a little shot of contact adhesive, let that set up. And then we'll do the same in that area, and we'll let that set up. Another thing I did off camera is I used the Dremel tool in a sanding drum and hit these mating edges where the two parts are going to fit together, and really roughed them up and got them, you know, gave it some tooth for the JB-Weld to grab into. So that's another off-camera thing. So we're just gonna let this thing set up for a little bit, and then I'm gonna mix up a batch of JB-Weld, and we will stick these things together again. We've mixed up a batch of JB-Weld. This is the old traditional stuff. They offer, I believe, a fast setting version, but frankly, I've never had too good a luck with it. So I'm gonna go with what I know works. And the idea here is to lay a thin bead around the rim of this where it's got to stick down. I don't want it thick to where it won't squeeze out. And really lay flat or flush. So it's more of just a skim coat than anything. Put a blob on and spread it out. very thin. Now, for those of you that have not used JB-Weld before, this is an epoxy type product. There's an A component and a B component. You mix them together in equal parts. Mix them until they're the same color. There's no streaks, so where it's completely mixed. And I believe it has metal in it, to where it is powdered metal or something that really makes it incredible stuff. And you can actually drill it, machine it, cut threads in it when it's done. One thing I don't want is any of that stuff in the area where the upholstery is going to be, because it's going to turn out to be a hard little blob underneath that you will be able to feel or see through the upholstery. So I'm going to scrape this edge and get where I messed up out of there. You also have quite a bit of working time with this stuff, so you don't have to rush. Another thing I did off camera was I wiped down the two surfaces around here, and then on the filler panel I wiped them down with acetone to get any oil or grease or dirt off of it. Now here comes the moment of truth. I have to get this into position with a minimal amount of sliding around. Because you have to get it kind of right on the first try because of that contact cement for the upholstery. Once that stuff touches and grabs, you're kind of done for. So it is stuck. Another thing that I did was make these little filler plates. When I originally did this, I didn't do this, and those nut inserts were going through two different levels of material. They didn't exactly work right. So I made a couple of little filler pieces here for them. Now what I am going to do is use the chrome bezel from around the gear shift and some fender washers as a clamp to hold this thing into position. That chrome ring will register into the upholstery where it's been compressed and dented in. And now you can see where those little filler blocks will come into play. Screwdriver here. I can snug these down. And that is going to lock this into place. I thought for a long time about what I was going to do back here. And what I came up with is I have a piece of aluminum that I'm going to put on the back side to protect the upholstery. And I have some of these absolutely crazy strong bar magnets. And I'm going to put one in this area right here. Here's a mating bar magnet, and it is going right through the aluminum and the upholstery. You can hardly break these things apart when they're together. I still have some material left here. I'm going to spread some in to act as a fillet. Be back in about 24 hours.